Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series, Interviews with Disciples and Devotees. Today, I have the honor of welcoming Lakshman, who has been in the ashram since at least you first came to the ashram in 1944.
Yes.
And your greatest interest is in following the mother's guidance on physical education. Can you tell us a little bit about this, Lakshman?
Yes.
And welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been something that has absorbed me pretty much all my life. My physical connection with the mother happened to form through physical education. I had the good fortune of not only having the opportunity but having some abilities. So I was privileged to have her watch from the time I was a toddler. The first memories I have of the mother was when I was a toddler, and they had acquired the dortoir that came with the playground.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to have the activities in the playground, and the first activities I remember doing in front of her is what they call rabbit race and sack race, all of these things, and potato race, where you ran across, and she would be standing at the finish line watching intently, and giving out prizes. And then I remember after that watching gymnastics, that time Dayakar and then Mona were the gymnasts, That time I remember Dayakar doing vaulting as my first memory, and doing a somersault and landing on the vaulting box on his back, and he hurt his back. And for I don't know how long, but every evening as mother returned from the playground, she would stop by his place and visit with him. That's how much personal care she gave each and every one. The year after we moved here in 45, my family in Hyderabad was pressing my father to bring. They wanted to see me, so they wanted, finding an excuse. They said, we have to do this hair cutting ceremony. Why don't you bring Lakshman? He's at the right age. So when my father approached the mother, she said, "You don't have to go there. I will cut his hair." So she trimmed my hair. First haircut I had was from the mother. I still had pretty long hair until then. The sports, the tennis ground. When it was acquired in 48, the track and field athletics used to take place in the tennis ground. The running used to happen in the mornings, but the afternoon, the high jumps, I remember her watching Gangaram and Suman competing for the first place in high jump. So all the athletic events used to take place in the tennis ground.
And our Gangaram is now, I believe, 92.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes,
and still so strong.
Yeah. No, I remember. That's my first memory of watching athletics, was watching Suman and Gangaram.
And I believe in the article that you wrote in the Golden Chain, you mentioned that the running races were done along the beach.
Yeah. Yes.
Were they done on the beach or on the road?
On the beach road.
On the beach road.
The starting point used to be right in front of the tennis ground entrance, the farthest nearest to the tennis court.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had 100 meter, 200, 400, to 1500 meters, going back and forth. Because it's...
and of course, in those days, it was so quiet.
Yeah,
there were so few people.
No one. It was basically an extension of the ashram, the beach road. Yeah, the only people we saw walking in the evening would be a few ashram people. You never saw anybody else but ashram. It was almost like a private belong to the ashram. Yeah, that's changed now, obviously. But that was how it was, and the intensity, the interest with which she watched. It was not just showing up as you see many people, politicians all the time coming to an event just because they have to show their face. It was definitely not the case with the mother. She came there with the intensity, and that was true with whatever she did, the attention she gave. We used to she used to take French classes when you maybe 6, and she'd give dictation. We'd be sitting around her, and then she'll take each book and correct the spelling. So it was not just giving dictation, even she'd correct each once, with maybe 10, 15 of us. Subsequently, we used to write diaries to her, she respond, but not only respond to what were written, but also correct our French. So, and the details to which she took care of us, we were like in a golden bubble. Supported everywhere. I mean, we never went to our parents to ask for permission for anything. We went to the mother, we didn't. I remember one morning getting up and having a swollen lip. So after the morning darshans, 6:15, she used to see a few people around 7:30. So I ran up the stairs that we'd not take to go to Aurovind's room, and showed her my lip, and that cabinet is still there. She opened the top drawer, she had some kind of ointment, applied it on my lip, a few hours later it was gone. But that's the level of personal attention that you got from her. And when the sports ground was acquired, she used to come after tennis. What is amazing that people don't realize, every day of the year she played tennis from 4 to 5. But the hottest time, it didn't matter whether it was May or June or November. If it was not raining, she was playing tennis. And I had the good fortune of being one of her ball boys. So pick up the tennis ball for her, along with my brother and Sunil. Sunil used to be there at the umpire's chair.
In your article, you didn't mention your brother's name.
Oh, Ramraj, yeah, yes. Yeah, he's about 3 years older than I am. But yeah, so in sports ground, when we were doing track and field, she's always standing for the running races at the finish line with the holding the thread. I remember one time I was doing high jump, whatever sport we were doing. She's sitting right on the other side of the sandbox. One time I was doing a hop, step, jump, triple jump, and I jumped about 6 inches, 30 centimeters or so behind the takeoff line. And according to rules, Arun Kumar was measuring from where I should have taken off for.
But now you were behind the line, so you didn't make a mistake. You were just behind the line. But you didn't get up to the line.
Right, which I should. You practice, but sometimes your strides change a little bit with nervousness. So I jumped from behind the line. So Arun Kumar measured from the right starting point. Had still made the ashram record, but that was not enough for the mother. She wanted him to measure what my actual jump was. She had him
from where you took off.
Where I took off.
Yes.
That was more interest to her. So that's the level of attention she paid to everything we did. I remember doing gymnastics as to do in front of Nehru when he visited the ashram, in front of the playground. I didn't realize there was a picture that the archives had that I'd never seen, with me standing with Manoj and 2 other people in front of Nehru and the mother. When we used to pick up balls, he came one day entering the tennis court, and Amio showed her the new camera that he had just acquired. So mother looked at it and said, "I will take a photo." So we stood at the entrance, and she snapped this photo. So before Amio passed away, he gave that negative to my brother Ramraj. That's how we have that. I didn't know that photograph existed. But it's amazing how much time she devoted to the body and physical education, and that's something I feel is missed out by people who have not been with her the time that she was actively participating in everything.
Do you feel it's missed out in the ashram now?
In the ashram, seems to be happening, talking to the captain, every time I come, I work out with the 12 to 14, 15-year-olds, in the playground, in the gymnastics. What has happened, the children have grown, they're 50% taller and bigger than they used to be nowadays, So it's a little harder for them to do gymnastics, but somehow it is hard to duplicate the mother's presence, physical presence. So the children who are there now have not had that contact, not been sufficiently exposed their parents or what have you. So it's making it very challenging for the parents, for the captains to initiate that kind of enthusiasm for exercise. Although some, after they've gone out, when they come back, they tell Parul they have try to maintain some form of exercise now, which is good news. When I left the ashram, I performed in front of the mother from the time I was 8-9 years old in gymnastics. And so I had promised myself that I'll try to keep myself as fit as the last time I performed in front of her, which was 1962. After that, she stopped coming out. And I have been fortunate enough to be able to do that. I watch between exercise and watching my weight every day. I've been able to maintain. I'm currently at the same weight I was in 1962. But what sort of opened my eyes to something more personal than a broader goal was when we did a retreat at the LA Center. And Vikas was going to be on physical education. Since Vikas noticed how physically active Hansa and I were, so he said we should have a retreat on physical education. And he pulled out some of Mother's writings on it. And that's when it hit me that this was how critical it was for her and why she was putting so much of her time on a daily basis. She played tennis in Paris, obviously. She used to hit a very hard forehand. She was a strong player.
Oh.
But people who didn't understand her thought she needed distraction, and she was playing tennis as a distraction from her yoga, But she has been trying to break down the traditional thinking on yoga. There was a period when she stopped meditation because people thought it didn't matter was yoga. They didn't quite understand integral yoga, what the specific uniqueness of that yoga was. So they felt they were doing yoga if they were doing meditation. And now I see in the Aurobindo community that doing integral yoga means only exercise has to be asanas.
Oh, really?
I don't see any. Whether I go to the Om conference or Southeast, I don't see any times left for active physical activity. It's left optional. The point I try to make is that the only discipline the mother imposed was in physical education. And I don't think there was anybody in the ashram who could have been a better disciplinarian than Pranab.
Please tell us.
Pranab came with a background of physical education from Calcutta.
He was a boxer, was he not?
Yeah, and he was obviously very fit, muscular, and so, but he was connected with her in one of her past lives. He was mother's son, so I forget what context. So he has been with her in his previous lives. So she, from almost day one, she pampered him. She made sure he had his every need met, physically, emotionally. She set up the separate playground trust, GSASA trust, with Pranab as the only trustee. So she had given him full control over it. And if you had to miss a day in the physical education, you had to get a chit from dispensary, from Nipenda, saying that Lakshman says unable to because of this, that, they had to provide that chit. That was not required in the school. The only place that strict discipline was required is in physical education. Because the body has been neglected. The concept, she said, if you don't mind, I'd like to read.
Oh, please, yes, do. Is this what you gave to me also?
Right.
Yes.
She says, for example, as I was saying at the beginning, the body's formation has a very minimal, a quite subordinate importance for a saint or a sage. But for this supramental work, the way the body is formed has an almost crucial importance, and not at all in relation to spiritual elements, nor even to mental power. These aspects have no importance at all. The capacity to endure, to last, is the important thing. Then she goes on to say, one has to fight against a formidable mass of stupid prejudices which create an irreconcilable antagonism between material and spiritual life. It is something so deep-rooted in human consciousness that it is very difficult to eradicate it, even in those who think they have understood Sri Aurobindo's teaching. And many people said, when for altogether different reasons I began to hold meditations again, at last we are returning to spiritual life. This was indeed what prevented me from holding them for a long time. It was in order not to encourage this stupidity. But for other reasons, it was necessary to do it, so I did. So long as this foolishness is not uprooted from human consciousness, the supramental force will always find it considerably difficult not to be engulfed in the obscurity of a human thought which understands nothing. That's all the same, we shall succeed. I chose this book, The Supramental Manifestation, in order to have the opportunity of putting you into contact with the truth, expressed in an almost combative form, in order to fight against this old division, this total lack of understanding of the eternal truth. And perhaps when we finish reading it, I will start the meditation again, but certainly not to return to spiritual life. It is so deep-rooted, even those who outwardly profess to understand, when they think of the spiritual life, they immediately think of meditation.
True.
Then she says, from our experience, we have found that a particular system of exercises cannot be stamped as the only yogic type of exercises. And we cannot definitely say that participation in those exercises only will help it to gain health because they are yogic exercises. Any national system of exercises suited to one's need and capacity will help the participant and improve in health. Moreover, it is the attitude that is more important. And well-planned and scientifically arranged program of exercises practiced with a yogic attitude will become yogic exercises, and the person practicing them will have the full benefit from the point of view of physical health and moral and spiritual uplift. So she's not dogmatic of what exercise. She recognizes different people, their abilities may be different, but she wants to break this barrier that only if you do asanas, pranayama, you're doing yogic exercises. She talks about endurance. So four components to what I feel is important in her yoga with regards to the body is endurance, aerobic exercise, whether it's brisk walking, but not, I see people walking on the beach in conversation. It is silent walking where you're focused on your own breath, on the mother, so you focus internally, not as a walking for discussion. The second is strength. You need muscular strength to support your skeleton. The third is balance. Body has to be balanced. And the fourth is elasticity, flexibility. So that's where asanas play a role in maintaining that flexibility. But you do need endurance. So in the Vedic times, they did lati and there are all kind of aerobic exercises they did. It was not just sitting in meditation. But that has been totally removed from the Indian consciousness. People, maybe Buddhism and subsequent Shankara, what has happened is they have viewed the body and this life on earth as a shackles and a misery that one has to get out of. So over time, the importance of the body has been neglected because it was viewed more as a prison than as a means of supporting consciousness. And that's why I feel the most fundamental difference in the supramental yoga, Mother and Aurobindo, is they are talking about establishing the grounds for a new species, the supramental species. And just like it took 1 million years from the chimpanzee to the first Homo erectus, the first man, and it's been only 300,000 years since the first walking human, and 100,000 years since our species, Homo sapiens. Now they're talking about a supramental consciousness, not the mental consciousness, which is so much more powerful that the body is going to have to be a lot stronger, a lot more enduring, a lot more elastic, has to change significantly to meet that. And that's not going to happen overnight. They both, Shirley and their mother, gave time period of 300 to 1,000 years. You compare that to 300,000 years, you're talking about something that they are expecting to accomplish. But that cannot happen with, as Mother said in her newer message, are you willing to collaborate?
Yes.
Okay, and I feel personally that level of collaboration is not there in the extended ashram community. It's gone back to the old traditional methods of satsang, lectures, discussions, and again the body is not given importance. You may have Mother didn't say we'll have a gymnasium, we'll have a playground, so the people have option of doing it. No, the people had to do it, the children had to do it. For the school, Mother said when she started the free progress class, she said that students, innately humans have greater mental curiosity, the children have mental curiosity, so they will seek that. When she first started the free progress, she said, if the children don't want to come, let them not come. And there were a few that did the first week or two, maybe after that everybody came. So they didn't require, but that is not the case with the body when it comes to the body. It needs to be pushed. It's the basis of the lethargy. So that the body and the physical consciousness is very critical for this yoga. And that I feel that message is lost because they have written so many things on so many subjects that we have focused on covering all their writings, but have missed the central point that she has spent so much time on. That's why when he left the body, said her body was more suited to carry the work than his, and he was right. The amount of energy, time she spent is quite. When she played tennis, she was there out in the sun for the whole hour. Her opponents would be changing after a few games. They're not playing a whole hour. Nobody was playing the whole hour. She was the only one on the court with Pranab next to her, but most of the balls she was hitting. Pranab was there as a partner. He would hit an occasional ball, he'll serve. But she's out there for a whole hour. People who have lived it know how difficult that is in the Pondicherry sun.
Certainly.
So there had to be a very strong and deep purpose for her, and that I feel is lost in the practice that it has progressed, because that's what separates. Majority people who don't know Srimad Yoga, they may read the Asajana Gita, his writings on the Vedas and Upanishads. They'll say that's another interpretation of the scriptures. Right? They have so many, Yogananda has one, and there are many sages and saints have given their interpretation based on experience. They say Srimad is another to add to the list. But there's a lot more to that than just, that's what is lost. When people are listening to the lecture, they're seeing Aurovind's interpretation of, of the Bhagavad Gita or the Vedas. But what is lost on the audience is the body and the importance of the body. And if they are truly looking to be part of that sadhana, that yoga, they cannot do it without focusing on their body and exercising in whatever their body allows them to do, but be disciplined to do that. And that, I feel, is lost on the majority of the Aurobindo community. They've gone back to the old Indian trap of meditation and asanas. That's all you see. You see yoga centers and yoga thing all over the US. But interesting enough, as supramental consciousness is going to move things forward. I see till the 1980s, there were no health clubs in the United States. They came in the 80s only. When I went, you couldn't find any place you could go to, the YMCA had, but they didn't have any equipment or anything like that. But since the 80s, the exercise has become a part of a good percentage of the population. And you're seeing that around the world. In India now, I'm seeing Modi started last year Fit India movement, and encouraging exercise and stuff. I see now a lot more people walking and running in Pondicherry. So it is happening all over, but the Aurobindo community is not focused on that.
What have you been able to do in the U.S.?
When I first went as a student, I had meager resources. There are no clubs. So my day, and I used to commute to IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, for my graduate studies. And I would, after I came back from school, 7, 8 in the evening, I had living as a paying guest with a Cuban family, and I had a room in the attic. It was like a large closet, like a dormitory room basically. But I had enough space that I used to do half-knee bends done, and push-ups and stomach exercise. And I had some chemistry textbooks, because in the chemistry that I use as weights. Mm-hmm. So I exercise for half hour, 45 minutes, and shower, and then do more reading, So that's what I did. And I used to be able to play tennis. Tennis courts were available, so that was sort of the only sport that I could participate in. And so I used to play tennis, and that's something that I have kept up to this day, playing tennis. But from the 80s, gyms became available. When we had a home in the Midwest, you always have basements, so we used to have equipment in the basement available. So sometimes Chicago would be ice cold, snow. So Hansa and I could work out in the basement. So I always made sure we had access to a gym, tennis court. That was our high priority. And
but what are you doing now at the center?
At the center, what we did the retreat, which has led to more people exercising regularly. And so several of all the youngsters, the ones with young families that have children, and they have space at home, I tell them, my son and daughter-in-law are physicians, both have 12-hour days, but they make time. So they've done the same thing we did. They have equipment at home. So they take turns exercising. Both of them exercise every day. They take turns looking after their daughter and exercise. We did the same, when we're raising our children. So I encourage them to do that. I said, if you are serious about it, you can always find time to do it. And so we have been able to instill that because they see both of us are fit. They see are very active on site, both physically and involved and in organizing the activities of the center. Although we are the eldest, we are very active. So it's by example, it motivates them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we organize programs. New Year's Day, for example, Hansa started bringing all the families with children together on New Year's Day, and we meet at the center, and we'll have children participating. They will read something or poems or what have you, and the parents will have them read something from a mother's writing or what have you, or prayers. So we involve them in the activities. And so we have Darshan Day. In this next room, the children will be playing, while we are having a session. Then they participate in meditation, whatever that they're able to do with the children. So we make sure the children are involved with them.
And do you give them exercise?
Well, yeah, I have shown them some stretching exercises and that they should do every day. So before we start the darshan program, we try to keep some time that we can do a quick walk and some stretches as a group, And the several people from the center also on Saturdays, there's a gentleman who comes and does Tai Chi. So we're trying to get them to do whatever their age and their capacity permits, So we have been able to push that concept in the center.
In the ashram here,
yeah.
Do you have anyone who you could work with?
Well, I do with Parul,
Mm-hmm.
captain of that group. We did gymnastics together growing up, the demonstration and trampoline and all of this. So she's like an older sister to me. So whenever we come, Pranab had allowed me to work with her with the children that group. So I still do that. So what happens with these children, a new face, and they put a little more effort into it, and they see my age, and my enthusiasm, my willingness to do and show some things that I'm still able to do, it motivates them, But to maintain that, and I tell them that there are a couple of billion children in the world in their age group, teenagers. There are a few 100 million in India, and you're few out of 500 of you in the ashram. I said, you have to think about it and see how exceptional that is for you to be here, from all the children in the world, all the children in the ashram, that you are here, and that this opportunity that you have is so unique and exceptional. I said, even if you don't absorb, understand into yoga, I said, just from the simple fact that no amount of wealth in the world will mean anything to you if you don't have your health. So if nothing else, for your own selfish reason, you should focus on your health. And I have made it my way of meditation. So when I exercise in the gym, on stationary bike or whatever exercise I'm doing, I always close my eyes and focus on breath. And I find that as time goes, as I'm doing that, my mind, the only time I can get it sort of completely blank in occasions is only during exercise, not when I'm sitting in meditation. I find it much harder to do that. I do it to say Shobindra's room, but more frequently when I'm exercising. So I have a couple of prayers Shyamanda's prayer on the body that I recite. And recently, Srikant gave me her prayer in prayers and meditation. It's a short prayer on the body. So it's repeating those like mantra. So like she focus. But I find when she started, she had told us before you start your physical activity, you have a minute of concentration. So you gather your thoughts and your focus on what you're going to do. So that's what this allows me to do, is focus on the body, on my breath. Oh. And when you're that focused, then all the extraneous thoughts go away with time. And so I find it a lot easier when I'm doing activity like that to remain focused and quiet my mind through that, and reduce my brain activity. And basically, there had been time I was doing asanas in the gym, and after I was done, one of the people was observing. He said, "Did you hear that fire engine go by?" I said, "No, I didn't hear it." So, without my realizing it, it completely had no awareness of the surrounding. I am unable to personally do that when I just sit in meditation. It happens sometimes in Aurobindo's room, but otherwise I find it personally very hard. But so now I find that my objective is to make more and more people aware of the importance of the body. With people who don't know anything about yoga, they just see me exercise and they're sort of motivated. People younger than me that see on the gym or on the tennis court, it motivates them. I don't have to tell them anything. It's just an example. Sometimes has a greater effect. So regardless of what their motivation, more people are exercising. So yes, it is sitting the groundward consciousness, like evolution. That's how evolution moves. But it would move faster. It could be 300 years instead of 1,000 years if more of us were doing it consciously, with the right attitude. But regardless, it is going to happen. Out of the millions you're exercising, even 100,000 do it with the right attitude. That sets the groundwork. As Srivendra says, it's not going to be overnight a supramental species, but there'll be like with the humans, you had Homo erectus and and Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. You'll have transitional periods, but to stay within that time frame that they're given, we need more and more people consciously collaborating. And there's no better community to do that will be the Aurobindian community. They are familiar and understand the yoga, that recognize that the importance that they need to give in collaborating with regards to the body.
Have you been in touch with the Aurovillians?
Well, I have tried. This article I sent to the Om conference, Julian and others, with the hope that they will. But their response is always, we have asanas, that is the barrier that unable to break in these conferences.
I understand the conferences, but what about Auroville itself?
Auroville, I'm not familiar with what they do at Auroville. My sense is everything is optional, which is fine, but I feel when it comes to physical education, that was the only thing Mother didn't leave as optional.
It had to be a discipline.
Yeah, it had, and that was the only discipline she imposed. Nothing else. The thing that Mother said clearly, you have to do this. This is the only thing she said. That should mean something to all of us.
Yes.
There's not a single thing that she was not willing to change, adapt, modify as she saw deemed necessary with the rules in the ashram or what have you. But with physical exercise, there was no optional. And what I hear in response is, yeah, we have walking trails, we have this, It's not fun having this, making time and making sure everybody who is participating does all of that. Not as optional. So if you want to follow her guidelines, then in all of these conferences, we have to make time and make it compulsory for people who are able to walk at their pace, walk in silence, and make it a form of meditation.
I would like to suggest to you that you formulate a paper as to how this is to be done, and I will give it to the working committee in Auroville.
Okay.
And we can see what happens there.
Yes, I would be happy.
As a first stage, perhaps.
Yes. I'm not quite aware, but I think every community or these people are living in different areas of Auroville. They can definitely organize.
Absolutely. I have 100 to 150 people every week for the Om Choir.
Yeah. So, right. So that's a huge start if you get these people.
Yes, if you can start it like that, it would be very good.
But
they would have to have a very clear proposal on how it's to be done. And you have had that experience because of Mother.
Yeah.
And Pranab.
Yes. No, I think.
Tell me a little bit more about Pranab and his sense of discipline and organization.
Yeah, he had couple of very able workers with him. One was Ajit, other was Tara. Mm-hmm. They were brilliant in organizing. So we used to have sort of a surprise birthday demonstration for Pranab on October 18th. And Tara and Ajit used to organize that. Mm. And then that would then get expanded for the physical demonstration on 2nd of December. So it'd be like a preview, and then we'd add more to it. But this mass drill that we used to have every year, it was Ajit and Tara that used to put it together.
Oh.
So he had very, very competent, very able. In Green Group, when I was young, it was Tara who was teaching me gymnastics, And then it was Mona after that, and Bhatti, So they were they followed and they worked very well with him. And that was a huge help to him because his time obviously was committed with the mother, so he couldn't carry out these day-to-day details. But he had two people that understood what needed to be done, and they did it extremely well. So I remember as kids, we didn't want to be not seen by Pranab. So when I was doing one time gymnastics, it was 52, preparing for the 2nd December demonstrations, and I sprained my ankle pretty badly. So I was not going to be able to do it, but I sprained my ankle, but I didn't want to miss the mass drill exercise that Pranab used to come in the evening after we had finished all our practice. He would come and he'll conduct the mass drill. And being one of the shortest, I'd be in the front row. So I didn't want him to see me missing. And that's what happened. So I did the mass drill, limping, and I had a hard time. The ankle got swollen, but I didn't want to be absent. That was kind of discipline as a kid. You call it fear, but you want to be sure you are present. If you didn't want to make excuses. So you did that.
But he instilled that in all of you.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that's why I'm saying no. All the others that know in the ashram, from Nalini to Pavitra to everybody, son Udar, all of them had their sweetness and interacting with children, but I don't feel they would be able to impose the kind of discipline that needed. That only Pranab, I feel, my experience was the only one with those skills. And he was the ideal instrument for the mother to establish the importance of physical education. And even when she was not attending, Udar used to keep her updated on the activities. And I remember when she used to be watching track and field and saying, anytime I got the first prize, when the evening when she distributing should be whether it's chocolate or peanut, she'll give me double the quantity, two peanut bags or what have you. So she really encouraged and motivated you in this fashion that you felt you had to do your very best for her, and that's the attitude one need to instill. If you have to put your best. I tell the children is you're not competing against anybody else. You're competing to make yourself better every day. That's more important. We had competition, but our focus was to do the very best we can, more than beating the next guy or that guy is doing the very best because mother is watching. So we have to put our all into it.
How do you feel her now in you?
I must say that I was so physically connected with her that I didn't make the internal connection till I left the ashram. I became more aware of her internally and her guidance and her orchestration of all my life since that I would not have had the opportunity to experience if I had not left the ashram. So it has made me a more aware individual. I think I could have fallen into the sort of mechanical rut of doing the same thing every day, and after a while you sort of become mechanical, you're not doing it consciously. So, but because I left and my memory of doing this thing for her, in front of her, that has stayed with me.
Just on a personal note, you had mentioned that mother married you?
Yes. So I went to the U.S. I mean, that's an amazing story. When I asked for permission to go abroad for the studies, she gave her blessings. Then a couple of days later, when I saw her, she says, find a way to preserve cheese at room temperature. So I'm thinking about that, and I said, and because cheese is to be wrapped in plastic, so I said, I have to study about plastics and how they. So when I started applying programs in plastic technology. So I applied to 4 or 5 schools in the U.S. and London University, and I got admission in 3. So I picked Chicago because my cousin was living there. So I got admission at IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology. The admission came from the chemistry department. So when I went with my father to get foreign exchange dollars, you had to go to the Reserve Bank and get their approval. So the guy looks at it and says, well, you're getting it in the chemistry department. We can't give you money to go for a degree in chemistry because you can do it here in India. So I went to the USIS library and found a catalog from the school, and in the catalog, the chemistry department, they had one course in polymer chemistry. So I took that to the Reserve Bank officer and said, yes, this degree is coming, the plastic technology degree is being given by the chemistry department. Look here, there's a course in polymer chemistry. He bought that and approved the monies. Now I get to Chicago and I tell them that I've come for a degree in plastic technology. And they say, who gave you admission? We never had such a program. Okay, so they said, we don't know how this happened. We have to review our process and this, that. So they said, anyway, there is a gentleman, professor, who is a polymer chemist. Maybe you can do your thesis under him. So the first year I was in the chemistry department, and that's end of that first year, he left the school. He took an appointment with some other university. But he knew a professor in the biology department. He says, why don't you move there? So now I'm puzzled. So I write to mother saying, this is what happened. What should I do? So mother said, ignore what I said. It was just a passing comment on this plastic. What is being provided to you is a good one, So go ahead and do that. So if she had not made that quote passing comment, none of this would have happened, So after that, when I graduated in 70, the US was in a recession. My cousin had lost his job. Within 2 or 3 weeks of me applying at different places, I got a job. With Hansa was interesting. The day I was leaving, the week before I was leaving, Marilyn was an American lady who used to live in the ashram.
Marilyn Widman?
Yeah.
A good friend of mine for many years.
Yeah, so she, sweet lady. So she was guiding me in terms of the universities where to apply and all that. So I ran into her as I'm coming out of the ashram gate, and with her was Larry Jacobs. Okay, so she introduced me to Larry. So he's on his way back. He's going to the US. He's just stopped by. So I said hello to him, talked for a couple of minutes maybe. So that December, this was in August I went here, that December, there's a foreign student advisor who is looking for me all over campus, So I said, what is the matter? He said, there is a Mr. Larry Jacobs looking for you. Okay, so here's a person I met for 2 minutes that stops to see me. So I spent time with him, and I tell him I'm trying to bring Hansa over this country. Can you help me? He said, I'll get my father to sponsor you.
Oh.
Okay, so
he's a wonderful fellow, Larry Jacobs was one.
Well, a chance meeting, so-called chance meeting. Okay, so he agrees to sponsor me. So Hansa is able to get the student visa, and get tourist visa.
Tourist visa.
She came tourist visa, and before she left, I requested if she would ask mother if we can get married. So she sent that to mother. So the mother said her blessings, and she said, "Come up to see me." And she gave Hansa a ring for me and for her.
Oh.
And then I had written to her about marriage, how it should be, this and that. She says, I don't know what's available in the US, but don't worry about it. Whatever works fine, But sending a ring. So I had befriended a couple from New York that he was an avid tennis buff, so we become good friends. So they invited us to New York, and we got married in a civil ceremony in Scarsdale, New York. And we had,
Scarsdale.
And we got photographs taken at the Bronx Botanical Garden. That was our wedding and a dinner at an Italian restaurant. But so when Hansa came, she did babysitting for 6 months, one semester, with some Indian friends that were looking for a babysitter on campus. So then she applied at Roosevelt University and got admission. But in order to change this tourist visa, student visa, she had to have a sponsor who was going to pay for her tuition. So I contacted Larry, and Larry sent letters sponsoring her, So he became amazing. So we were both able to go to school. And after the first year I was in the biology department, I got a full scholarship. It covered my tuition and room and board. And Hansa, after the first year, got a scholarship to cover her expenses. It's few persons understand that. And generally they who are against this external discipline, this concentration on a material achievement like sports, are exactly the people who lack totally control over their physical being. But to realize the integral yoga of Aurobindo, control of the body is one of the first indispensable steps. They who despise physical activities and people who will not be able to take a single step on the true way of integral yoga unless they get rid of their despise first. And this is underlined. The control of the body in all its forms is an indispensable basis. A body that rules you is an enemy. It is an unacceptable disorder. It is the enlightened will of the spirit that should rule the body, not that the body should impose its law upon the spirit. When one knows that a thing is bad, one should be capable of not doing it. And when one wants a thing to be realized,
one must be capable of realizing it. You must not at every step be stopped by incapacity or bad will or want of cooperation from the body. For that you have to follow a physical discipline and become the master of your own house. It is fine to escape into meditation and look down from one's pretended greatness upon material things, but one who is not master of one's house is a slave.
Wonderful.
She can make it more clear.
Namaste.